Hello everyone, Tina here. Thank you so much for joining me for Try It Out Tuesday. Today I wanted to create a card using some supplies that I've had in my stash. This one I haven't used yet, but I've had it for quite a long time. But I also have a few other items that we're going to be using for my stash. I wanted some pattern papers because I love using pattern papers, but I wanted to create a card to show my support for everybody that that is going through some hard times right now, especially over in Ukraine. Blues and yellows are going to be the theme of my project today, just to show my support and my love, and it kind of a hard subject to talk about, but it really breaks my heart about what's going on over there. But today we are going to keep it cheery, and we are going to jump in and create a card. We're going to start by doing a little bit of die cutting. This is the Hero sorry. This is the Hero Arts Big Hug Stamp and Cut set, and I love the big hugs. And so we're going to take this and die cut this out. I'm not going to use any of the sentiments in there, but we're going to die cut this out with some white cardstock. So let's run this through, and while we're at it too, I'm going to take some fun foam. And I'm going to die cut it out 2 times. The big hugs with the fun foam. I'm going to try something and see if it works. So it may work and may not, but we'll find out together. So I'll go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine. Okay, I'm just going to separate these pieces here. So we have 2 big hugs with foam, and then we have 1 with white cardstock. Now I'm going to first do a little ink blending on my big hugs. It die cuts out in 2 separate pieces, and very easy to align. So I'm just going to use some oxide inks and add a little bit of color to this. If you guys are going to ask about this is, let me show you. This is a Ranger silicone mat. It actually is, does it say on here? 12 inches by 16 inches, and I quartered it. So I cut it into 4, and so just to make it smaller for my videos. And the right corner had the Ranger on it. The other corners don't. And then you can see the corners of the mat are rounded. So I just took my corner rounder and rounded the other corners just to make it look a little more uniform. So that's what this is. It's the Ranger silicone mat. And I just cut it in quarters. So in case you are interested, I'll link it down below. But we're going to ink blend with 2 oxide inks. I have mustard seed and peacock feathers, and I'm going to use my ink blending brushes. Let me just get this stuff aside here. Now if you hear beeping in the background, I had to stop my dishwasher so I could record. So this is notifying me that my cycle's not done, just a warning. But I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to the very bottom of my hugs, and I'm just going to, I want a little bit of a white area separating the 2, so I'm really just going to intensify that bottom and then kind of lighten it up as I go. Same with the G and the S. I'll intensify that color down the bottom, just kind of pull it up a little bit. Okay. And then what we're going to do is take our peacock feathers and do the same thing, but this time we're going to go over the top portion of our die cut sentiment. Lightly fade it to the middle. We'll do the same thing to our G. Okay, I love the way this looks. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean up my craft mat. Okay, now what we're going to do is I am going to flip over my sentiment. I'm going to add some glue behind here. Okay, and then we're going to add one set of foam adhesive behind our big hugs. There's our first part. Well, hello, darling. And nice thing about the glue is it gives us a little time to move this around. The foam that I'm using is Spellbinders pop-up foam sheets, and I cut out 2 of those. Okay, now I have one more set of fun foam. We're not going to double up on it. I'm going to show you what we're going to do in a minute. I'm going to take a piece of vellum, and then we're going to use some circle dies. I like the Arch Impressions circle double stitched dies, and I'm going to take the second largest and die cut out a circle. So here is my circle. It has a little bit of a stitch detail, but you really can't tell. But I'm going to go ahead and flip over my ink blended big hugs, add some adhesive or glue behind my foam, and I'm going light because the vellum that I'm using is the Spellbinders vellum sheets, and they're not as heavy weight as the Hero Arts vellum sheets. This is a lot lighter weight, and so I'm afraid that my vellum might warp a little bit. So I'm going to use a little bit of glue, and then we're going to place this in our circle here, along with the GS and the big G. Press this down, and I'm going to use an acrylic block to help weigh that down. Okay, in the meantime, I'm going to scoot this over here, and we are going to do a little bit more die cutting. So these are the Romantic Slimline borders. I used this in the card recently. I used this one here, kind of like an eyelet, but for this card I'm going to use this set. Actually, there is a dotted detail in here too. I'm going to grab that. Okay, I have some white cardstock here. This is, let's see, 4 3/4 inches wide. And I'm going to take my detail border, add that to the bottom, and then this will cut the bottom of the border. If you don't add this, it just adds the detail. It doesn't cut it out. But I want to cut out the bottom of the border. And then I also want some dot lines. So I'm going to line that up here as well. We're going to tape this down and run this through our die cutting machine. Okay, once we have our panel die cut, you can see how pretty that is. I love the look of this. Now I'm going to take this panel and I'm going to round the corner. I'm going to take my 1/2 inch corner rounder and I'm going to round the top left corner, just one side. And then I'm going to be using an embossing folder from Spellbinders. This is an older one. It's called Floral, but it has some swirls and swoops on there. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it, my panel in here, just so the dotted detail is sticking out. I don't want to emboss that dotted detail that we added. So you can see here, I'm going to run this through my Platinum 6. Okay, I ran that through, and I love the way this looks. I think it looks so pretty. Now after we have our background embossed, we're going to use some pattern paper. I'm using some papers from the Honeybee Stamp Spring Fling. I love the blues in here, and I also love the yellow. Okay, so this is the floral that we're going to use. I'm going to go ahead and use my paper trimmer and trim down about a 1 1/4 inch strip of this floral. Lovely. And then this I already trimmed down so it is slightly smaller than actually it's my card front size, so it's 4¼ inches by 5½. We're going to make a landscape style card. Okay, and then this is a yellow and white polka dot. This is actually not from this paper pad. You could use the yellow pattern paper in here. Let me show you. But I wanted it a little bit softer. So I went through my paper stash and found a lighter yellow. Now with this here, I'm going to go ahead and die cut out some butterflies. This die set has 3 different sizes of butterfly, and that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to run this through my die cutting machine. So now we have some butterflies that are good to go. We are going to take our card base, and I'm going to go ahead and take my pattern paper and directly adhere this to my card base. And again, this is a card front panel, so I'm not going to leave any of a border. Just cover the entire card front with this. I'm going to go ahead, we're going to finish up this panel. I'm taking this paper and I'm going to place my decorative panel on my card base, make sure it's centered, and then I'm going to use my tape runner. Did I run out here? I guess I did. Need more. And then I'm going to take my floral pattern paper. I'm going to line this up so it is on the edge of my panel here. And then I'm going to tack it down. And then I'm going to use my scissors and fishtail the end of this. So we fishtailed the end on the right side. Now what we're going to do is take some twine. I have some baker's twine that is a teal color, and I'm going to wrap it around the bottom. We're going to add a little color to the bottom of this, and I'm going to tie a bow to the right on the seam of that floral pattern paper and those polka dots. Baker's twine's a great way to add some color to your card. Let's trim off that twine. And I think that's going to look great. Now we're going to flip this panel over, and I'm going to add a piece of fun foam behind here. I'm going to remove the release paper off of the foam squares, and then also off of my fun foam, and then we'll flip it around, and we're going to add this panel to our card base, centering it. Now after we have this done, we're going to go back to our big hugs, and then what I'm going to do is flip this around, and where the big hugs is, we're going to add a little bit of glue. And then we'll take our die cut big hugs and line it up behind here. So it's actually going to be backwards, but I wanted to add a little dimension to my vellum, and this is a great way to do it and still give it a nice stable feel. Let's add this. Okay, and then let's add some more glue. We can pick this up, flip this around, and we're going to add this. Lovely. I'm going to use my block again to hold it down. Now in the meantime, I'm going to use some foam squares. We have 2 different sizes here. I'll use a small one. And I fluffed up the leaves a little bit. And I'm just going to add 1 small foam square behind our butterflies. And I'll remove the release paper. And then we'll add some butterflies to our panel. We'll add the larger one and the smaller one to the right. I love the way this looks. And I'm sending lots of hugs to the Ukrainians right now. And we are going to finish off our card with some bells and whistles, and I'm going to be using the Spellbinders Color Essential Gems. This is the Aura. It kind of has a yellow feel to it, the Aura AB, Aurora Borealis. That's what the AB stands for. So we are going to add some gems to our butterfly, and I'm going to go with the medium on our butterfly, and then we'll go the next 3 sizes down. And then that finishes off my card today for Try It Out Tuesday. I thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of your week, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.